do you want to do? I don't know what you want me to say. I said, I want you to tell me the truth. And I said, Janine, I want to do a children's book. It has nothing to do with what I'm doing. What do you want? She was, Marty, I just love to knit. And I said, wow, Janine, knitting, that's a tough one. I'm having a tough time mixing knitting with tech support. But I said, tell me about knitting. What? What is it? Because when you find your goal, your passion, you have to ask yourself why. Why that passion? When I found myself asking myself about artwork, why did I like the artwork? Because it separated me from the rest of my family. Separated me, gave me identity away from my brothers. When I asked myself, why did I like that? Because it gave me the ability to sit alone and create something. And I also got to show it to people and see them become elated. So I found it. So when you find your passion, the next thing is ask yourself why. Then why again? Why again? Dig to the root of it. So I asked Janine, so you like to knit, why? And she goes, Marty, there is nothing in the world that alleviates stress to me more than knitting. And I said, really? So I said, I promise you, this is a high-stress job. You are going to get people complaining about the littlest things. So I said, what if I did this? What if I let you bring all your knitting stuff into the room, and at break, and at lunchtime, you could knit your little heart out? Okay? And she said, you would really let me do this? I said, of course. Well, I don't know how many people knit here. I had no idea when I said you could bring all your knitting stuff. She brought baskets of yarn. She had like 16 different sets of needles and stuff. I had no idea what she was doing. But that woman would answer calls. The bell would ring for a break. She would put her phone on silent, pick up it, and just start knitting. And she went through the worst customers you could imagine. And her stress level was down. But even more so, she used her passion to lower their stress, and it made it contagious. And she was able to learn to take complaining customers and end up getting testimonials from them. So she learned her passion. We were together, mixed her passion with her purpose. It was fantastic. So I want all of you to do that. So that's your passion. Now, after that, how are we going to connect it to speaking, right? And I talk too much, so this 45-minute presentation is actually going to take 2 hours, so be ready. The next thing is tell a story. Tell a story. All right? Everyone's heard this, and we practice here at Toastmasters all the time. Tell a story. Yes, I've heard about telling a story. But this is the bottom line with Toastmasters. Toastmasters teaches us make eye contact. But don't stare at anyone. Stand up straight. But don't look too tense. God forbid, don't slouch. Okay, use hand gestures, okay, but not force. Okay, use the stage, okay, but don't dance. Okay, voice inflections, change your voice, okay, but don't sound weird. So what I'm telling you is take a look at those rules, and for now, throw them away. I'm telling you, we're going to learn more about passion, how we can do this. I didn't need to put that down there. We're going to learn more about this and how you're going to improve. Because that stuff will come naturally. It will come naturally if you start speaking from the heart. So telling a story. There's 3 basic types of stories I want you to concentrate on. First, it's personal stories. Now, I told you a little bit about myself, what I do for a living, what my family was like, and I'll continue with that. If you're willing to sit with me for hours and hours, I'll tell you more and more stories. I've shared stories about some other people. But another type of story is about brands. Brands, products, services. Now, you might think, I don't get it, why that? Remember, speaking is always about selling. So one of the famous brands I always think about is Lego. How many people remember Legos, right? Of course. Okay, when I was a little kid, I used to play with the Legos. They had the little 1 cent piece, the 2 cent piece, 4 and the 8, and then they had the 6th one that you didn't know what to do with it because it was an odd-shaped one. Okay, and that was the days when it was all the blocks and you could build, and you used your imagination for everything. And everything was an imagination. Well, as other toys progressed and started changing, and less imagination was necessary, Lego's market share started dropping, and they started disappearing, because no little kid wanted to buy blocks, and they could be buying real action figures and dolls and stuff like that. So Legos fired all their design team. They fired people who had been working them for 30 years, and they brought in designers from college graduates who were architect designs, mechanical designers, and said, let's start something new. We need young, fresh blood. Well, these guys went crazy, and they brought in a bunch of redundant products. And what happened? Legos started dropping even more. So a guy who I have to read here, because I'll never remember his name, Jorgen Big Nudstrom. Okay, he took over in 2004, and what he did was he said, we're going to stop talking to the people inside Lego and go out to the real fans, the people who love Legos, the people who have a passion for Legos. There were Lego fan clubs out there, so they started talking to the people who owned Legos and collected Legos. What do you want to happen? And their dream was, I would love for you to make these things move. We build so much stuff, but it doesn't come to life. So what did they do? They started putting motors in them. They started offering. But the big step for Legos was they started making Lego movies. And these guys who collected Legos since they were little kids saw their dreams come true. They saw the little buildings that they did actually come to life and run across the screen. And every adult who did this suddenly became little children again. So Jorgen, his biggest success was he followed the passion and the dreams of the people who loved his product, and he used that passion to turn this company completely around. That's why you see Lego stores with the giant statues and everything like that. It's because he followed the passion of the users. So I want you to keep that in mind. Now you might ask yourself, okay, stories are stories. That's a good part of a speech, but it shouldn't be the whole part of the speech. And I disagree with that. The reason is, think of this. When you put a child to sleep at night, do you ever put the child to sleep and you say, logically, it's time for you to go to sleep? You know, there's 24 hours in the day, and 8 hours you should be sleeping so that we can go read more about. But the kid at best is going to be bored to death. Right? Instead, what we do is we tell the kids stories. Here's a bedtime story. Here's a nursery rhyme, a fairy tale, something like that. Get their imagination going. We share stories with everyone. When we find an old friend, we don't talk analytics. We don't talk about, well, what time do you think the sun is going to go down today? It's 2 minutes faster than it was yesterday. No, we reminisce. We talk about stories of the past, and we bring up stories. What about a funeral? Can you imagine a funeral where you meet somebody and you say, my God, I remember her when she was so young. This was all wonderful. But if you didn't have stories, you just walk up and go, well, we all have to die someday. Okay? How awful that would be, right? So we share stories all the time. And when you connect stories with sales, I want you to remember one thing. I have many years in sales experience. Is nobody, and I mean nobody, wants to hear a sales pitch. But everybody, absolutely everybody, likes to hear a good story. So keep that in mind. Stories. Connect your passion to stories. Every passion that you have deep inside. I will bet you have tons of singing stories. Okay, and I will bet you have tons of running stories. All right, and I know you have tons of stories about your business and health in general. So use those kind of things to find your passion and start looking towards the stories like that so that you can start tying them into your speeches. And you can connect anything with just a little bit of time. To give you an idea, the last part on this is Kurt Vonnegut, great writer. He said there's 3 different types of stories he likes. First one is called Man in a Hole. And this kind of gives you an idea of how to write your stories. Man in a hole, simple story. In other words, guy is in trouble, he climbs out of the hole, and he gets better. Plain and simple. Nothing to worry about. It's a short story, but everyone understands it, everyone can relate to it. The next story is called Boy Meets Girl. And that is a story of an average guy meets a girl, everything seems okay, they have a little bit of a problem, but then it works out and everything's good. So it's a little dip in his life. And that's another interesting story. But the ultimate story, according to Kurt Vonnegut, is called the Cinderella story, where someone starts at the rock bottom. Their life is awful. I mean, here's Cinderella, lost her mother and her father. She's forced to live with her stepmother and stepchildren, or her stepsisters. Her life can't get any worse. But then it turns completely around, and she's invited to the ball. She finds a fairy godmother. Everything in her life is wonderful. Such a dramatic change, and this is the type of story you want to tell. But then what happens? It turns midnight. Everything starts changing. Her life is falling apart. It can't get any worse. This magic roller coaster. But the prince finds her eventually, puts the slipper on her foot, and they live happily ever after. So if you can tell a story with that type of a dramatic roller coaster in it, you've got a winning story all the time. You've got the stories. Now it's a matter of structuring them so that they work in your speeches. Let's tell a story. Next one is your brain. Your brain. Now this is what's really fun. I talk a lot about passion, and my speeches are loaded with passion. But one of the things you have to understand is, if I gave an hour-long speech that was nothing but logical, and was giving fact after fact after fact, I would get all kinds of people yawning. If I gave another speech, really loud and passionate, just in your face constantly, and but an hour long with no break like that, you'd also find that boring. The reason is we have brains. Anyone here not have a brain? All right, excellent. All right, other than you, sir. All right, somebody write this down for me. All right, your brains are divided into two hemispheres, the left and the right. The left side is your logical part. It's the analytical.